Conspiracy theory. Do governments know more than we know?
Well,
and
yes.
Are they keeping it from us?
Yes, governments definitely know more than we know. Any fool knows that. We're clearly kept in the dark about a great deal of things by governments. It's government policy not to inform their citizens of everything that goes on, and this is regarded as sensible and right behavior by most governments. But the possibility has to be recognized that governments may know more about a comet threat to the Earth than they're letting on, and that rationale could be found within government why it isn't necessary or it isn't wise to inform the public of this. So I think we have to be open to the possibility of government conspiracies, but not to be driven mad by it, you know.
Because it seems to me that every time we get pictures, and we get a few stories in the news, great pictures back from so-and-so space mission, and then they disappear. Or they say you can't see this, or you can't make it out.
It's a very odd way of handling information, particularly with NASA, and particularly with information
Well,
that
I spoke to NASA the other day, and they said, oh, we put everything we get on the internet. But they clearly don't.
No, they don't. I mean, the first two images of the so-called face on Mars were taken in 1976 by the Viking orbiter, and within minutes of the first image having been received, it was released by NASA, but it was released in a context which immediately rendered it harmless. It was released in a context that said, how interesting, this looks like a face, but actually it's a trick of light and shadow. And we know it's a trick of light and shadow because a few moments later another picture was taken, or rather a few hours later another picture was taken, and it didn't look like a face anymore. That statement wasn't true. No picture was taken a few hours later, but one was taken 35 days later, which didn't resurface from the archives for almost 10 years, and that picture also showed an object that looks strikingly like a face. Now, NASA has rephotographed the face on Mars this year, in April 1996, and that image was immediately put on the internet, and the image didn't look much like a face. It looked like what somebody described as a bit of cat litter, actually. And that image was picked up by a surprising number of newspapers around the world and was run under headlines like NASA defaces Mars. 5 hours later, NASA put out another image, somewhat enhanced, which looked much more like a face. And further work has been done with image enhancement on this image, which was shot through heavy cloud in very unfavorable conditions. And the more image enhancement has done, the more it resumes the appearance of a gigantic face with a very regular enclosure around it, which is extremely hard to explain naturally. As I say, it may be
in your book as well.
Yeah, it may be weird geology. I think we have to be open to both possibilities, but I think it's extraordinarily irresponsible of us as a species, with all these funds that we have to dispose of, that we're not spending a bit more investigating this mystery, because the face on Mars isn't the only object that might be artificial. It's in a region called Cydonia, which is just littered with structures, objects that don't appear to be entirely natural.